right, this is framed, but it's sort of like after the show. This is like Oprah's thing. No, I'm just thinking of that just now. No intention of doing that. But Dick's show is like so interesting to talk about his other series, so I wanted to devote a whole show to Transit. This is the subway show that we were talking about. And what was the name of the gallery, Dick, that it was in?
The gallery was Rico Maresca.
Rico Maresca.
Yeah, they were down on Worcester Street in Soho.
Are they still there?
No, they moved to the new area for galleries, which is Chelsea. They're on 20th Street, between 10th and 11th.
Well, one thing that was really cool is when you told us that you were going to have this show there, it was like, okay, you know, and we all go down there and stuff, and it was just so dramatic, because I guess I didn't realize your pieces were going to be so large, first of all, and they just had so much presence in the room, and I think it was because it was like this whole series of subway interiors, again, called Transit, and it just had so much impact when you walked in the room. A lot of times I'll go to the shows, and sometimes I think you get lost in it somehow. I mean, confused in it. It's like too much. Where with this, you just walked in, it was like a lot of impact, a lot of statement, I think, in there.
Well, yeah, I think there was some. The origination, I guess you'd call it that, or the origin of these paintings came to me in a strange way. I woke up one New Year's Eve morning, about 7 o'clock in the morning, and I took my Polaroid camera and went into the subways and started photographing subways for you know, nomenclature and see what they look like and what stations look like and booths look like and et cetera, et cetera. I was chased from station to station, kind of. They didn't want a guy in the, you know, with a Polaroid. I don't know, a guy. You never know how crazy these guys are. So I had a series of Polaroids for background, you know. And I was, all of a sudden, I was kind of compelled to start painting subway paintings. And I started, I think this might have been my first painting.
Okay.
And the little man you're going to see here on the, I guess it's the left, I had an office and I scribbled his face. And I took that home with me, and I then decided to paint this particular painting. This painting is called Instant Hostility. And this man obviously can't understand this little guileless man. In fact, my brother wrote a poem about this fellow, about this little guileless man, because he was so innocent and so different. And the floors are white and the ceiling is white, and the painting, really, all these paintings, or at least in the subway interiors, have about 3 colors.
Well, I was going to ask you if you paint straight out of the tube.
Yeah.
A lot of your colors seem to be like they're fresh, or are you mixing the colors?
I mix them. The green probably had some black in it, and the straw seats was maybe raw sienna and yellow ochre.
But I mean, like, primarily I paint with my primary colors, and I mix most of my paint.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think yours...
No, they may look that way, but except for...
No, you're going more straight out of the tube, aren't you?
Sometimes, but the white is the white. And sometimes, sometimes it's out of the tube, but sometimes you need a little bit of this or that to bring it about.
Okay. And again, these are oil on canvas?
These are all oil on canvas, and these are basically 36 by 48.
They have like a little black frame on them, I think.
Yes, yes.
A wooden
they
black
do,
frame.
Yes. This painting is called The Same Little Man, and this is called Strangers on a Train. And indeed, these two weird characters are looking at this other weird character, and they don't understand them.
But the guy is like, it's so bizarre. I mean, you have...
he's not paying any attention. I mean, he's an innocent. He really isn't
Okay.
innocent.
So he's not intended to be like a freak weirdo.
No,
he's
I
an
mean,
innocent
he's different.
in the world.
He's totally different. I mean, did he come from Mars or wherever? But he's, you know, he has no harm for anybody.
Okay.
You know, and God knows what he's reading.
But yet they're all so suspectful of him, right?
Well, look at their faces. I mean,
yeah.
you know.
Like they're totally watching him, make sure he's doing the right
I mean, you know,
thing.
these could be really uptight guys, you know? And then I painted the same painting without the man.
Okay, so you did the one without the man after you did the one with
and
the
this
man.
is called the disappearance.
Oh.
And if you see, one guy is now looking at the other.
It's almost a mirror image
Right.
of that. Did you dimension it out? Or you just painted it?
No,
like
I
just
said, well, you know,
freelance,
I
and there
know when
you
I
go.
painted the other one, I said,
Yeah.
you know, I wonder what this painting will look like without
Without
the
the
little
guy,
guy.
okay.
I said, it works. And now the men are looking at each other like, you know, what happened? Where did he go? You know? So they really should be, if they're bought, they should be bought together.
Yeah.
You
But
know?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, all right?
As
So-
a pair.
Yeah. This is a, called Curiosity, this painting. And it's a wide screen, as they say. There's a nun, and way here, on the other side of here somewhere, there's a man selling newspapers in the station. And he's looking at the nun, and, you know, she has her eyes closed and her fingers clasped, and he's curious about the whole thing.
Well, I think that was one of the things that I noticed from your film background as a director of photography. Dick's angles that he used, it seemed almost like he was looking through a camera lens, because this was definitely like a wide angle. He's got other ones that you can just tell what lens he's using and how he like visualize things and how the perspectives are. And that's, I don't know, that was the thing that I noticed when I went. But of course I knew Dick from the film industry, from when I art directed, and knew you from that first before I knew you as a painter. But I just, for me, I see that influence. Did you feel it affect you?
Yeah.
Were you conscious of that, or?
Yeah, I think I was to some degree. Although I might have been an innocent, but it's still, yeah.
The guy with the spinning eyes.
The seats, when I painted this, the seats in the New York subways was straw. You see, they were that color.
Oh,
Now they're
okay.
hard ass,
Yeah,
you know.
I know, they're
and,
hard plastic.
But
That's how they were, like when you were a kid or
yes,
something?
Yeah, and well, not exactly when I was a kid, but the seats are very strong visually. You know,
they really are.
Really,
Well, they look like fabric.
almost.
So
well,
we're-
yeah,
okay.
it's done with a heavy impasto. This painting you probably won't see too well because the photograph isn't, you know, that good. But it's called Footsteps. And there are huge beams. This is a vertical painting. There are huge beams and heavy paint to reinforce, you know, the feeling of beams. And there's a candy machine and a little seating bench. And the attitude, the physical attitude of this man is he just hurt someone. You know? He's going forward, but that's why it's called Footsteps.
Oh, okay.
You know? And he has a white newspaper in his hand, and he's in a hallway, in a passageway. And he's just turning around because he heard something. And
I really like the way you have the texture of the walls. It's like pretty wild to
Yeah.
me. It's like they just seem so strong.
steel.
Okay.
Steel beams.
Because it looks like really dominant
Yes.
in the painting.
It is. Very dominant. This is called Silent Witness. And, well, it's a small painting. And I took these were real posters in the subways for that year.
Okay.
And this is the Beatles. And I almost lost my eyesight painting them because it wasn't easy. You know, this is the Chinese guy eating the rye bread. And this is my old school, an advertisement for my old school, School of Visual Arts. And it's who's the painting, the South Sea Island, Gauguin. And they said he was a bank teller before he became a painter.
Really?
It's half a poster, yeah. And the okay, I just want to see something. Didn't want to
see what else is in the painting.
There's a man here. Unfortunately, he's cut off a little bit, and he's doing some graffiti. And the painting is called Silent Witness, which seems to me appropriate, you know. It's too bad he's cut off a little here, but that's happened in the photograph.
Okay.
This painting, well, I took a shot of the subway platform, and it's called 3 a.m. And it has to do with the solitude of the subway at 3 a.m. There's the man in the booth who fell asleep, you know, the token guy, and there's the trainman, the engineer, and just the station, and all the doors are open, and it has a lot of perspective. You know, it goes on and on and on, which I always like perspective. So
I think you really, the perspective seems to be a dominant force in your paintings.
To some degree, yeah. Yeah, those images of perspective, when I was much younger, it used to run through my head. I don't know why. I'm really not good in perspective.
Well, I always think like your work, well, this subway, I keep calling it subway series.
Transit.
It's transit. It shows the solemnness of the subways and like the mood where, to me, there's no litter or anything. You don't have any of the like grunge in the paintings.
No.
You like edited, you know, out that.
No, there's no graffiti.
Right, they're like really clean, really about like this somber kind of emotion, right?
You know, loneliness, solitude, and I don't know if it was a reflection of my life at the time, but.
Yeah, do you think it's about your life, or is it about like that's like the whole subway experience? Like, you know, you're crammed in with all these people, but you could feel like totally alone.
Well, I don't know. I spent a lot of time on the subways as a teenager and looking for jobs and going to Coney Island and kidding around on the trains when nobody else was there with a bunch of guys who used to play hide and seek and everything like that.
See, my experience more is going to work, back and forth to work when I used to live in New York City, and you know, I ran into someone I knew maybe 5 times or something, or maybe a little more than that, but it certainly wasn't on a daily basis.
No, well.
You know, so you're like have all these masses of people, but you're completely alone on these subways.
It's a lot of work to paint masses of people.
Well, I just like this. I just kind of, you know, wondered,
and
like, did you have a thought?
It stands out. They're graphic, and they're strong.
Yes.
And
they're more direct, I think.
Very direct. They're very direct, and.
But you're emitting like the whole mood of how you feel maybe on it, or.
Well, maybe I felt that way. I don't know. You know, subways played a good portion of my life was spent on subways when I was young. It was constant going to work, looking for work, kidding around on the subways. And I guess they meant something to me more than I ever knew.
Because this transit is phenomenal. I know you have a couple more pictures here to show us. I just think it's really dynamic.
Yeah, this painting is called Through a Glass Darkly, and it's a dark photograph, so you may not be able to discern what's on it. But again, it's an open door. There's a candy machine. They used to have candy machines in the subways till, you know, people vandalized them. So they took them out.
So you brought them back.
I brought them back, and if you'll see, there's a man in the mirror who is being reflected in it.
In the candy machine.
And it's a, probably, maybe, perhaps late at night again. And this is a gray. It's not a white. You can't tell, perhaps, here. But I felt gray was more appropriate here than white. And you know, again, it's a strong painting. And it's called Through a Glass Darkly. And that's...
I think it's difficult to paint with darks.
It is. There's nothing really easy in painting, except if you want to just go plop, 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 and become a genius overnight, you know?
A Jackson Pollock.
Yeah, Jackson, yeah. But this painting is called Distant.
Okay.
It's the last one. I have.
Well, there were a couple more in the series.
Oh,
It's just we don't have the photos of it.
Six to eight more here, but I didn't have the photographs. This is probably me as a young man, and I painted this figure here sitting down in the car through the glass window, and believe it or not, it has a certain resemblance to my father.
Oh, by coincidence.
Unconsciously, you know? And it's called Distant, my father and myself, right?
Oh.
Man, it's cold, it's winter, you can see his shoulders are hunched up, his hands in his pockets. And again, he's looks like he's thinking about something. And then, you know, the guy way down there, sitting down, as I say, has some resemblance to my father. And, but, you know, so that's this painting. And when, if I can tell, do I have a few minutes here?
Yeah, we have a little more than 10 minutes.
Okay. I went to a gallery in Soho called what was it? OK Harris, which is a very big gallery, very fine gallery, and Ivan Kopp is the owner and a very nice gentleman. I originally, when I finished painting these paintings, there were 14 of them. Unfortunately, you don't see all of them. I went to Ivan Kopp down there, and he had a different gallery then, further uptown in Soho, though, on West Broadway, and he liked them very much. He came to my house, and he said, you know, I haven't seen paintings like this in a long, long time. However, we couldn't come to some agreement, you know, it was all very friendly. And I said, Ivan, I'm going to pass, you know. And I said, oh boy, you know, I had the biggest art dealer in Soho. He loved the paintings. He really wanted them. But for whatever reason, I didn't do it. And so I said, oh, this is going to be easy. P.S. 4 years later, I still hadn't found a gallery.
Wow.
And you know, everybody said, you know, they couldn't understand these paintings. Again, these gallery owners. But I went back to Ivan 4 years later, and Ivan, we were friends, and you know, he said, you know, there's this gallery on Worcester Street called Rico Moresco. They like stuff like this. So I went there. I gave him the slides. I went home. A couple of weeks passed. Nothing really. I went down Soho with a couple of the small paintings under my arm to a different gallery. And, you know, they didn't quite like them, whatever. And I passed. I said, look, I got these two small paintings. Let me drop into Rico Moresco, right? So I went to the guy in the desk. I said, look, they have my slides. I think maybe they like them. Here's two small paintings. Are they in? Yeah. Put them. Well, take them in the back room. He said, well, he said, they're in conference, you know? So I said, all right. And I start to walk out the door. So before I'm out the door, they said, wait a minute, they want to see you. They saw the physical paintings, and they took me in the back, and we had a nice 1 hour discussion about all the paintings, and they were very, very impressed. And they came to my house to see the paintings in reality. Again, they were impressed, and they had a photographer take 4x5s. And I told them, I said, I want a show. And they said to me, what are you, nuts? I said, who are you? You know what it is to get a show in New York? He says, maybe in Europe. I said, you know, Roger, Frank, you know. I said, I'm not interested in Europe. I said, I painted these for a show in New York. And, you know, it was a little hemming and hawing. And finally they said, we're going to give you a show in April. Now, very successful.
Yeah.
I mean, it was my Academy Award night.
Yes.
And bumping into friends and relatives, and they all marveled at the paintings. And I sold some paintings, and it was very gratifying. Excuse me. Very gratifying.
What's the phone number that people can reach you at? How can they get in touch with you?
Well,
about
yes.
your work?
Well, I live on 16th Street in Manhattan, and it is 212-243-8448. I'll be glad to discuss any of the paintings with any individual, and if you want to see the paintings in person, A lot of them are hanging in my house, probably too many of them. And again, 243-8448 in Manhattan, and call. Just don't call at 2 in the morning and breathe heavily.
Some of the work was on a website too, right? From the gallery. Are
Yes,
they still on that?
yes, Rico Maresca put the one with the little man and the two figures, and they sold the painting over the website for a rather large sum.
Yeah, pretty good amount of money.
Some doctor in Texas saw him, and he was enamored of it, and then when he got the painting for real, he said, oh, this is wonderful.
I think, like, to me, the paintings that you have, even though it's different series or different collections, you still have certain style, I guess what they call, you know, the artist style or whatever, even though it's different types of stuff. Yeah, it is. It's different.
I'm there, and let me tell you something. I said I went to 350 galleries.
Yeah, just for this one show. That's we're not counting
that's going to come,
the one
come
before,
up
right?
very soon. I mean, it's impossible to tell you how much bad painting is in these galleries, and you wonder how it gets there. You know, who's doing who to what. There are some, I would say maybe 10%, maybe less than 10% of something worthwhile on the walls.
Now, you're talking about high art, first of all,
no,
right?
I'm talking about art. I'm talking about art in galleries in Manhattan. I mean, I saw one gallery, there were 10 paintings, and they were just squares of black, squares of black, just squares of black. You know, tell me what that painting is all about. I mean, and then other stuff that's just bad painting. And there are stuff artists on the street down in the village, you know, they take a little easel and they paint. And there's some really good artists. I mean, they're really some
Don't
good
you think
artists.
a lot of times it's closed out? Like you said, they don't want new artists. A lot of times galleries don't understand like what the heck is up or whatever. It's more about, I think, marketing. If they know your work sells, if they know to whom to sell it to, you're going to be in. But I think it's risky. It's just like in a movie business. It's risky with any like new idea, any new concept. People would rather stay with something that's like really safe. They already are tapped into whom their market is, who they're going to sell to, what type of work that they feel comfortable with, or what's trendy. Too.
Oh, trendy.
I mean, people talk about art being original.
You want to talk about
it's
trendy? Right now, trendy is photographs. A lot of the galleries have forsaken art and photographs.
But don't you think it's about the money, not about the art?
It's always about the money.
Yeah.
You know? I went to one gallery that, you know, there was an artist, he committed suicide, Basquiat. I don't know if you heard of him.
Sure, of
They
course.
made a movie about him and everything.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm not totally enamored of his work, to be quite honest. But I went to one gallery, and I said, how much is that? They showed his work, you know. He said, how much is that painting? He said, $450,000.
Well, I know a lot of his stuff is up in the million dollar range.
Fainted on this.
Right.
I said, well, you know, I don't understand. Is it because he committed suicide or what? But I'm sure some people love his work. It wasn't my cup of tea, but it seemed to me $450,000 would look like some child scribbling.
And I think really he has work that goes up into the $1 million range
well,
too.
That's possible.
Yeah.
I don't know. But it was a nice gallery. I'm not even going to mention it, but it's not, you know, nothing on them. That's what the price is, and maybe somebody will buy it.
Someone who collects his work or wants, you know, work of that, what you might call stature, position in the marketplace.
But you do see occasionally, really, some really good painters in galleries. It's not all bad. It's just most of it bad. And as I said, there are artists on the street with little easels, and really doing some fine work. And you know, even
They
went up
can't
to
get
one.
in. They're not going to be able to get in.
You know, why don't you show these paintings? They're really good. And
well, one of the things, though, like you said, that you were kind of, doors were closed because they're like, we want established artists or a name artist. Or
well, it has to fit their image.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Yeah.
And, you know, so it really is very risky to paint and then think you're going to have a one-man show.
Yes, I think so,
you know?
Yeah.
Now,
you have to paint really, first of all, because you want to paint. That has to be there.
That's true. Absolutely.
Because beyond that, if you're like painting just for that hope or, you know, whatever, I don't know what's going to happen.
But on both these series of paintings, I said, I feel these paintings are good enough for a one-man show. I mean, I had a lot of belief in myself. And you have to do that, by the way, or else forget it. And it did come true, and it will come true.
Yes.
In, you know, a very short while, I'll have my second show. So you must believe in yourself. And I would, the gallery, you know, Montserrat said to me, you know, these are so unusual paintings. They're very unusual. And they said, you know, we don't know anybody who paints like you. And I'm not saying you're a genius or anything, but you're original. Nobody paints like you. They're very inventive and, you know, creative. So they saw that. And then after they, P.S., after they accepted, you know, and I'm going to have a show, another gallery wrote to me.
Oh, now they want you.
I said, you know, we like your paintings, come in and see us. Well, it was too late. But,
well, there's your third set.
No, but now, you know, it's, you know, you can go to 1,000 places and they could all say no.
Right.
And then somebody says yes.
Yes.
That's all it takes.
That's all you need.
Whether you do a painting, whether you're a screenplay, a playwright, whatever, a composer, and they all say no. And then somebody sees, somebody has a vision, and they say yes.
That's all you need.
And that's all you need. You know, forget all the negatives.
Yep.
And then,
well, Dick, on those positive words, I'm going to say goodbye. Thanks so much for coming here and
pleasure being
sharing
here.
your other series with us, Transit.
Yeah, I really love the whole thing up here, and
good.
Let's see where we go from here.
All right, we'll give Dick a call and see you again on Framed.